So last season, the popular meme around Arsenal was that they were very much like an elephant in the tree. After their blistering and unexpectedly great start to the campaign, everyone said that just like an elephant in the tree, you don't know how he got there, but you know he won't stay there. And well, we almost did, but ultimately the meme proved true. This year, the meme's been adjusted a little bit to look a little more comfortable in that tree, but I just don't think it applies anymore. How can you say you don't know how he got in a tree when he's been at the top of the tree for as long as Arsenal have? This season, we have lost a little bit of our attacking verve. It's popular to say that Arsenal don't look as good as they did, but we've conceded only 10 goals in the first 13 games. And if this is extrapolated on, it means we might end up in this season just conceding 30. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But I want to come back first to another popular meme around Arsenal last season, which was that if we didn't win it last year, then there was never going to be a chance to win it. And part of that seemed to be around the idea that Manchester City weren't as good, weren't as hungry. Pep Guardiola even mentioned it in press conferences. But since they went on to win the treble, I don't know how true you could make that statement. And so for all of those people thinking that Arsenal were a flash in the pan, the strengthening of the side in the summer transfer window definitely has added something to the team. We have lost Granit Xhaka, but in effect, we've replaced him with Declan Rice, and he has been outstanding. Arguably, the greatest, most expensive bargain of all time. A Rolls Royce of a player, an absolute engine in our midfield. We have lost some very key players as well, but overall this season, you can see that we've strengthened the squad. And if only Jurrien Timber hadn't been injured, you'd have seen even more of that. The difference in our attacking verve may be that the players haven't quite clicked. Certainly Kai Havertz hasn't quite established himself in that midfield position, and he hasn't supplanted Granit Xhaka of last season. But it's definitely worth pointing out that whilst last season we were the unexpected surprise package this season teams have set up, and we have faced far more low blocks, far more defensive games. I mean, if you looked at the away game to Brentford, they essentially played every man behind the ball, and it took us till the very last minute to break them down. But we did break them down. But what it looks like is that Arteta went away in the summer and analysed our season and found that whilst we scored plenty of goals, even without a recognised number 9, even without Gabby Jesus being the 20-goal-a-season player that everyone says you need to win a league, we scored 88 goals, which is more than we have done at any time in the last 30 years. But we also conceded too many. And this seems to have been the focus. This season, instead of swashbuckling football where we try and score one more goal than the opposition, we've gone for a controlled, methodical, and definitely slightly more boring approach. But boring Arsenal's not a new concept. When George Graham came in 1986, he set about transforming Arsenal into a winning team, not by fixing the attack, but by putting together arguably the best back five English football has ever seen. Our stunning late victory at Liverpool in 1989 was, of course, built on the fact that we did not concede in that game. And in that season, in fact, we conceded only 36 goals. 2 years later, when we almost went invincible, losing only one game, we conceded only 18. And it was the same back five that proved to be foundational for Arsene Wenger's first double. Few people have a better pedigree in winning the Premier League than Alex Ferguson, and he famously said, "Attack wins you games, but defence wins you titles." So taking a look at the last 10 champions, one thing really stands out. There is a huge discrepancy in the goals scored, from the low point of Leicester in 2016, who scored only 68 goals, to the Manchester City side 2 years later that scored 106. On average, over those 10 years, 89 goals has been the standard of a winning team. But the goals conceded has been much closer. In fact, no team has ever won the league in the last 10 years, conceding more than 37. The average goals conceded by champions over that period is 31. And this season, I don't think will be any different. Manchester City don't look less like champions because they're not scoring freely. They've scored plenty of goals in their last few games. But what they have done is conceded far more. In fact, if this season carries on, and I know that's a big if, but if you extrapolate the games played so far this season to a full season, then Manchester City will concede 43 goals, more than any team that's won the title. Whilst, as I've already said, Arsenal only 30. And so the idea that Arsenal are deficient in attack and that's going to cost us the league seems at odds with the experience of the last 10 years. It's my assertion that if we can maintain this defensive discipline and this parsimony in front of goal, if we can continue to stop teams scoring, then we could probably win the league, even scoring as few as 75 goals this season. I think that's the strategy. Now, it may be more boring, but like I said before, boring Arsenal. If we win all our games for the rest of the season 1-0 to the Arsenal, my celebration when we win the league will not be muted as a result. And I don't think yours will either. So, full credit to Arteta for fixing the problem that probably kept us from winning the league last season. And fingers crossed Manchester City struggle to repair their leakiness this season. In summation, Arsenal, to me, look like the only team in the top 4 at the moment that is capable of conceding fewer than 30 goals. And as a result, I think this is going to be the season that we finally win the league. Come on, you Gunners!